So, when I was growing up, well, we are still growing, but I'm just talking about growing up from, you get the point, from a young age, aka when you're growing up from your home environment, when you are a child. So, I grew up in a very critical environment, okay? Let's get away from the main. It's very deep. Like when you see, ukiona Mwafrika anaweka gari exhaust iko na kelele. Ukiona Mwafrika anaweka, anaenda anunua motorbike anatoa silencer anaweka kelele. That is something that is very deep in their psyche, because it is showing you that that spirit is in chaos. That spirit would rather be under a lot of chaos to feel comfortable. It's very deep, okay? It's very deep. It's not just a coincidence. So I grew up in a very anxious home, okay, where my parents were directly critical of everything that we did as siblings. There's nothing we ever did when we were growing up that was positive or was looked at like it was anything up to date. And I'm not blaming them. They should have known better, because, you know, the moment you decide to bring a child into this world, you're supposed to know better, okay? You're supposed to know better. Like by default, you can't blame anyone for not knowing better. So now, shout out to my neighbors, you know. So, all that criticism or all that anxiety that we grew up with, it was so bad because it would manifest as placing things where they were supposed to be. AKA, kama ni rangi ya viatu, tumia rangi ya viatu, you're supposed to put it back where it was. There's those people in today's world who will go crazy bananas. Shout out to my neighbors again, okay? Neighbors, inaendea tu 006 9 222, okay, big numbers. There's those people who will go batshit if they don't find a remote control. So this video is actually dedicated to those kind of people. Kuna watu saa hizi akikosa remote, hiyo nyumba ni shida. Iko remote, iko wapi remote? Sijui ilikuwa na mtoto. Unajua mnanga kichwa mzuri, kitu kama remote amjui kwenye mtaweka. Ameanza kuinua viti, hata ajue amekasirika na nia anatafuta remote. And you can miss a remote. In actual sense, one of the things that you're always missing is the remote control. And a lot of people don't even know that this is coming from how they were raised, or this is something that they need to reparent or heal from. So shout out to all those people who need to learn from this. So now, when things were not placed where they were, either your dad was about to beat the shit out of you, na mlikuwa mnapigwa vita nyote, from your mother, whether she was home, anyone who was in that house would get it, okay? Unless, of course, narcissistic parents will always have that one child who is spared, okay? Huyo ndiye anakuanga spared, na yeye ndiye anakujanga kuwasaliti. Najua, your father will always parentify that one child. Now, so, when you grow around parents who lose control, especially the men who would lose control and start fighting everyone, or even women, so this is not necessarily just talking or fixated on the men in the house. We also have the women, okay, who lose control and they're going to shout. Unasikia bibi akiwa kwa kitchen anagongesha vitu kwa sink, unashindwa mbona anagongesha vitu kwa sink? Why? That's not even necessary. So when these people feel out of control, either this is your father or your mother, okay, these people tend to micromanage everything, okay? And what happens is that most of the time, they will be feeling out of control. So they are always becoming angry, whether this is your father or your mother. So there's always that outburst of emotions in the house, okay? So this is something that is very common in what you can call homes that are not functioning the way they are supposed to be, what you call dysfunctional families, okay? And so what happens is that when you grow up in a home that has what you can call over seriousness, okay? Or rather, that kind of homestead makes you start doing what you call coping. So you start coping with that state by becoming what you can call an extreme perfectionist. Okay, so you become an extreme perfectionist. So here, in your demonic synthetic world, is what you call OCD. You see, you're always baptizing things names to make them make sense. So you start calling them at, oh, akona OCD. It's not OCD, okay? That is someone who has grown in a dysfunctional family where they are supposed to be perfect, okay? So everything has to be in its place in that house. Everything has to be particular. Mkiambiwa hakuna kuona TV, hakuna kuona TV. Everything has to be in order, organized in an obsessive way. So this is what happens. When you become older, if your parents look at you and they start recognizing that maybe you're a better child than who you are, they may give you a little bit grace. Maybe you grew up in such a home and now you are making some money. So they start looking at you like you are the favorite child. And so this is how you miss the fact that you are abused as a child, because now juu unatuma M-Pesa, unanunulia ng'ombe chumvi. You know, you are able to send your father 2,000 at the end of the month, aende akakunywa hapo, or unalipia mamako chama at the end of the month. So you actually don't even see it or even realize that you are going through abuse, okay? Now, as a child, I was giving you my story, okay? I had to learn to become very uncomfortable. So now as a grown-up, when I met Munjiro, been together for 13 years now, she would not understand why I would throw my socks everywhere. Even now I have a hard time trying to place things where they are. Because remember what we said? You have to unlearn a lot of these things. So I had to start unlearning that seriousness in the homestead, because now I'm independent, you know. Oh, the women, throw your hands up in the independence, okay? So now you're like, okay, I have my own house now. You know, I can bring a girl home. So that kind of independence makes you become a little bit loose. Unaweza angusha soksi zako kwenye unataka, unajua kuna mtu anakuuliza, unaweza acha kitanda kama hujamake. Okay? Now, let me show you just how obsessed you can be in today's world with being perfect without understanding that it came from abuse. So as a society now, when you come into this society, when you watch how we treat people that make mistakes, huyu dereva anaendesha gari aje bana, dereva amewaleta vizuri sana, amewatoa Nakuru, hakuna mali amepiga bump, but amefika Kinoo for some reason amesahau bump ya Kinoo, ama pengine hata ikichorwa akimegonga bump ya Kinoo. So all of a sudden, dereva, tutakuripoti kwa sako, wewe dereva, Kinoo tutoa ratia. Unasahau dereva amekutoa Nakuru mpaka Kinoo. Na hajagonga bump. Okay? Si kusema ati sasa juu mko Kinoo, si kusema ati mkienda Gatina, si kusema mkienda Wanye, si kusema mkienda huko kwote atagonga bump. Pengine hiyo bump yenyewe pengine amekuja ameipata wapi? Hapa Kinoo peke yake. But you are so super critical of that without understanding that this is a coping mechanism on you growing up in a dysfunctional family, where you are overly criticized based on the fact that either your father or mother was overly critical with you. Because what happens is that as a young child, when you are growing up, you are so demonized, okay? Dehumanization for the small mistakes that you made in your home. So now as a grown-up, you can't take that shit, okay? You can't handle. Kitu kidogo umegoroka. You don't even understand that it is human to make mistakes. Okay? Making mistake, or when you are making mistakes, is another name for what you call courage. Shout out to Team Courage, Boniface Mwangi. Okay? Making mistakes is courageous. Now, let's jump now deeper into this esoterically, because this is an esoteric page, so we like diving deep spiritually, even how we come up with this. Okay? So when you are obsessively trying to be perfect, this in itself is a trauma. And trauma comes from lacking. So this is a trauma response that comes from not being able, to make any mistakes as a child. So if as a grown up unasemanga ati mimi natakanga mtu akiguza kitu yangu anarudisha kwenye ametoa. Mimi natakanga remote ziwekwe hapa. Mimi natakanga sabuni, sijui ukienda kuoga na sabuni usiguze sabuni na kitambaa, uguze sabuni na mkono. Mimi natakanga ukitumia washing liquid unafunika. Mimi natakanga all those things, all those obsessive perfectionism that you are trying to do. These are trauma responses that are coming from you not being allowed to make mistakes as a child. So, what are some of the ways that you can say you are not allowed to make mistakes as a child, because, you may not even see it because you thought that is what it meant to grow up as a child. For example, if your parent was always comparing you to some other people, like today you have so many parents who will always try to compare you with your neighbors. Unasikia, Njoroge nĩaragũrire Pajero. Njoroge nĩonire Njoroge mũciĩ ũrĩa arakire. Like your mother will always throw that thing at you, or your father. They will always, when you go home, Gishaki, they will always remind you, ona mũndũ njĩrega kuona rĩ nĩ Kamau. Ule mtu nimeona hapa juzi ni Kamau. Kamau unajua anakujaga kuona wazazi wake mara mingi sana. I think kwa mwezi moja anakuja mara kama 3. So they are telling you this because wewe unaendanga nyumbani December peke yake. Okay? You are abused by your parents, so you actually even don't care about them. But, come December, you feel guilty. You feel like you have to take to watoto wako tukaone shosho yao. You actually don't even want to go because hata ukienda watakukumbusha, those kind of things. Okay? So if you grow, or if you find that you have parents that are constantly trying to compare with other children, then those are parents who are trying to remind you that you are not supposed to make any mistakes when you are growing up as a child. Okay? So parents who are bent on micromanaging everything, okay? This is any parent who was either critical, any parent who was either harsh, any parent who ever beat you up like shit. Like they wanted to kill you, okay? That is a parent by design that was teaching you you're not supposed to make any mistakes. So these are the parents who would beat you like a dog, okay? Let's say your parent now raised you in a home whereby there was no joy. So in your home you can never remember siku hata moja baba yako alikuegeka ukacheka. So your home was devoid of any spontaneous activity. There are those homes unaweza enda ukute baba na mama wamekaa chini hapo nje wanacheka. Baba anaongea kijana mpira, godha mpira, those kind of spontaneous play. So in your whole life, your father amjai cheza ball na babako. In your whole life, babako hajai kubeba na baiskeli. In your whole life, your father never, helped you learn how to ride a bike or anything. So you grew up in what you call a very rigid home environments, okay? There was no play in your home. Your parents were always punishing you severely. Na kama si wewe alikuwa anachapa mamako, na kama si mamako alikuwa anachapa babako. Okay, so those kind of homes where one parent was always abusing the other one. So as a child, you grew up believing or knowing that you're not supposed to make any mistakes at all. Okay? So when you grow up in this kind of environment, subconsciously or spiritually or deep in your psyche, you have to have, you start believing, or this thing starts growing inside you, where you have a belief developing that you have to be perfect in order to be accepted or loved. So this becomes those people who will even lose their virginity late in life because you are trying to be perfect in love. You know, you are always trying not to give up the cookie, you know, because you have been taught that, you know, if you are losing your virginity in your teenagers, that is being loose, you are being a whore. So even when it came to sex, you started late, okay? So this creates what you can call a chronic fear, whereby now you learn to do what you call avoidance activities. You are avoiding facing the things that you're supposed to be handling in life. So in whichever situation that you have, where you may make a mistake, oh my God, maybe this motherfucker is gonna sleep with me and make me pregnant. So you avoid that. Let's go and finish this live hapa, because I'm already at the gate na sai kuinterrupt. Nikifungua gate, my dogs zitaanza kukuja zikirukaruka na I'll be distracted. So let's finish it here. And then I'll just go home. So let's look for a space here and finish this live. Hopefully there's no mosquitoes here. There's no mosquitoes. Tukae hapa karibu na cattle bit, next to the cattle dip, so that we can remove some esoteric ticks from our minds. Okay, esoteric ticks from our mind. So you start believing or thinking that you'll be seen as weak. Someone is going to see you as unworthy. Someone is going to see you as unlovable. Let me actually sit down. For example, I'll give you an example. When I finished high school, that was Form 4, before I went to my college level, I finished high school a virgin, aka I didn't know girls. And I stayed out of high school for 2 years without ever knowing a woman. Those who know me, you know that I lost my virginity through, you have heard me talking about this, through our house help. Shout out to her, okay? Shout out to that big spirited woman who was so much older than me, but she had game, she had a nice pussy. Shout out to that woman. She introduced me into sex, okay? So, those kind of fears whereby you cannot even now interact with the women because you are so afraid of making mistakes. You feel you are so unworthy because you have grown up in an environment where you're not supposed to be making any mistakes, okay? So, if you look at your life and you find that you are even afraid of taking steps, even when it comes to work, okay, even when it comes to making decisions, okay, you have to understand that you have some healing that you need to do, okay? Because your characteristics, aka how you cope in life, okay, how you even avoid making decisions. Some of you, you are in business. Nimetoka kuchukua maziwa, so chaka maziwa kakaya hapa. Huku tunanuanga maziwa 60 shillings a liter, okay? Hii maziwa ikaya hapo, fresh from the cow. Maziwa haijatolewa cream, haijatolewa butter. Hiyo maziwa ukienda warm. It's good milk. So when you grow up in such environments, you have this chronic fear of avoiding everything in life. Because you don't want to make a mistake, you even avoid taking business opportunities. Like career opportunities can pass you, and wewe unasemanga, imagine sijuangi kwa nini mazemia hakuna kitu poa inakujanga, kila kitu inakujanga inanipita. Inakupita kwa sababu when you are growing up, your parents abused you. You are told that to make a mistake is a very bad thing. So you're even afraid to try for that tender because you don't want to make a mistake. So hiyo kitu inakupita because you don't want to be seen as weak. For example, I give you an example of me. I like teaching from my own example. So all those years, I couldn't approach girls because I was afraid that if I tried to have sex with them, I would be unworthy. I would be unlovable. I would be weak. So I used to pretend that I was actually sleeping with my girlfriends. And those girlfriends, all they did was get chocolates from me. I used to be very romantic, you know. Nilikuwa na treat tu madam. And this escalated so much to even me now in my adult life. There was days when you used to go and I would just buy women drinks and not even ask for the pussy because I was afraid to make a mistake. I was afraid that after they would feel me feeling unloved, okay? So the reason we make these kind of videos is because we have to, because these things are not taught anywhere. They are not taught in school. Your religion is not going to teach you, or either your government. And we need to heal. Okay, this is the age of Aquarius. So for you to heal from this, you have to stop being critical to yourself. Your boy child, or your girl child inside you, you have to start practicing self-care. Stop being too critical to yourself. You need to have the courage to make mistakes. You need to have the courage to fail. Okay? Allow yourself sometimes to fail. Allow yourself sometimes to humble. Okay? Allow yourself sometimes to do things that you know you don't do them very well, but at least you do them. You know you can't paint. Just paint, because if you are going through that harsh mentality, shout out for the hearts. So if you are going through that mentality whereby you're like, man, you know I can't sing, because you grew up in a family where you are not allowed to make mistakes. So you know you're supposed to be in a choir. You know you're supposed to be doing something with your charismatic gifts, but you are so afraid because you know that you don't want to make a mistake. And this comes from the fact that your parents were overly critical. There was abuse in your home. Okay? So when you expect yourself to be perfect, what you are doing is that you are robbing yourself of what you can call humanity. Every time you expect yourself to be perfect, whatever you are doing, you expect yourself to be perfect. For example, there was supposed to be a tax amnesty with the iTax people, and this thing has been going on for some time now. And I didn't even file my tax return, knowing that I was going to get some amnesty. And I also realized that the reason I was doing that now, later, when I'm doing, like, you know, shadow work is always continuous. I realized, wait a minute, the reason I was sabotaging myself is because I've been healing so much to the point I've been allowing myself to make mistakes. I would rather pay the fine KRA, afadhali nilipe hiyo fine ya KRA kuliko nisikie ni kama KRA wamenishinga shingo, wamenilazimisha kufanya hiyo nini, hiyo return. Why? Because I'm coming from a point whereby when I was growing up, I was critically criticized all the time. Nothing that I ever did was ever good. Okay? So I was always afraid to fail. Now I allow myself to fail. Okay? So allow yourself to have some sense of humanity. Okay? Stop expecting yourself to be perfect all the time. Because when you expect others also to be perfect, you are robbing yourself of humanity. Because there's nothing like perfection. Perfection is a conditioned illusion. So instead of seeking for what you call perfection in your life, seek to keep moving, okay? Go to a gym, okay? Keep learning. This is what is called courage, okay? Courage over perfection. You have the courage to face this thing tomorrow. Team Courage, Boniface Mwangi. You can never, again, today I'm using too many words of this never. I've been using never even yesterday, last night. Perfection does not exist. And perfection is not achievable. Making mistakes is part of a human experience. Keyword, you are not human, you are having a human experience. I repeat, you are not human, you are having a human experience. And making mistakes is part of a human experience. Making mistakes is a very positive thing because it's how we learn. It's how we grow. It's how we evolve. Without you making mistakes, you never grow. Without you making mistakes, you never evolve. Without you making mistakes, you never learn that you did a mistake and now you need to learn. Do you get it? So give yourself grace every day, whatever you are going through, whatever is happening in your life. Do enjoy the rest of your Sabbath. I may come live around maybe 8 p.m. or 9 p.m. If I'm feeling like coming live. Maybe we can have some more conversation on that. So, you know how we say, it's each one teach one. Teamwork makes the dream work. Let me see if I'm skipping anything. Maybe I'm skipping something. Maybe someone commented or said something. Also, you're learning. You know, sometimes you just be listening to the point you even don't have any questions or mistake, which is a beautiful thing also. Sometimes you say it's a Q&A. I'm home now. So my neighborhood is quiet. Hakuna motorbike. So you see, I've walked all the way. There was no one behind me. No one behind me. No one on this side also. Okay, so now I'm home. Now we can allow the dogs to interrupt the live. You know what I'm saying? So there's nothing like perfectionist. A lot of you go around hating yourself. Okay. Oh my God, you know. Oh my God. Oh no. Oh my God. Fact that you are having a human experience. and making a mistake is part of learning. Shout out to Team Courage, Boniface Mwangi. Boniface Mwangi is not even my friend. We used to be friends a long time ago, before he was even very deeply into activism. The only reason I'm shouting him out is because he calls himself Team Courage. Usisikie nikimention Boniface Mwangi, you think I care about Boniface Mwangi. I don't care about Boniface Mwangi. Okay? He's just Boniface Mwangi. He's just doing whatever he has to do based on survival. Yeah? And also the fact that Boniface Mwangi grew up in an approved school means he has so much to heal from, which he has not yet faced. Najua. Ukiona mtu anaongea maneno ya kanisa na mtu anafuatilia maneno ya serikali, is someone who's still very lost in one way, shape or another. Ni sawa sawa. My number one TikToker, you make my mind still. I've been so unkind. Okay, we are learning. Yeah, shout out to you. Do have a beautiful evening. It was a beautiful Saturday. It was a beautiful Sabbath. We were chilled. You like the swing? You can always swing your troubles away. Always swing your troubles away. Swing. Always swing your troubles away. Sasa. So, ciao ciao. And I love you from the bottom of my heart. Ni sawa? Peace.